Drop and Give Me 20 is brought to you by Germono Advertising Company. Drop and Give Me 20 is the podcast for military entrepreneurs. Each episode is around 20 minutes long, giving entrepreneurs a glimpse into the life of other successful military entrepreneurs, learning from their obstacles and gaining insight and inspiration. Podcast episodes focus on the stories, challenges, and wins military entrepreneurs have faced in their businesses. I am your host, Lindsay Germono, and thank you for tuning in. We're back with another episode of Drop and Give Me 20. I feel like I'm hanging out with my best friends from high school because we haven't seen each other in a long time. This episode is kind of coming towards the end of season 5 of Drop and Give Me 20, and I think the stars have aligned because I actually met probably both of our guests through an organization that I interviewed back on season 1, which was the Millspo project. And that has come, had different iterations and everything too. So I'm very excited about this episode. Let me take a second to introduce my guest. Of course, my co-host, Claire. Hi, Claire. I know you're on mute.
Hi.
There you are. How are you?
You're just in the AirPods. Doing well. So good to be with everyone. Thank you for having me again, Lindsay. And it's such a pleasure to see you ladies. Yay.
We are joy. We are very, this is just, we got going for those that are listening, we got going when we all joined on Zoom, and I was like, wait, I want to get this energy when we start recording. I'm joined today with Katy Stevick. Katy is Katy, I'm going to screw this up probably, but MacPherson House? Is that how you say it?
Yes.
Okay.
That's how locals say MacPherson. So we're fine.
There's a bed and breakfast that she has now purchased. She is the owner of that. So it looks like we have to come down and visit and stay at her bed and breakfast. She's also with Align Financial Planning. And then Nadia Anac. Nadia is, her and I across, we have 6 degrees of separation from over a decade ago because she was stationed up here in Hampton, and I guess her spouse knew my spouse. I don't know. You know how it goes. But Nadia is with the Anac group, and she is actually down in Tampa. Is that right?
Yeah, Tampa, Florida, sunny Florida.
Thank you guys so much for joining. And I'm going to kind of pivot back to Katy. Can you introduce yourself a little bit better than I just did? Just tell us what you do. Give us a rundown of both of those initiatives that you're heading up.
Sure. So I'm located in Fayetteville, North Carolina, just outside of Fort Bragg. And my husband and I purchased a historic house in the proximity of our charming little downtown area earlier this year. We closed in March, little did we know. And we spent the whole summer restoring it, renovating it. Well, he got me started, and then in June he deployed. So we, the royal we, worked on it all summer and just opened the bed and breakfast in October. So that is just a personal passion project of ours, but him being active duty and me really tied to the military community, putting down roots and having that kind of storefront business has been really interesting, but great. And that, I've been a financial planner for a long time. I've been a financial advisor for I think 7 years, and in the industry for 9. And I had always dreamt of opening my own firm. And all of the events of COVID in the summer and opening the bed and breakfast and meeting with clients on Zoom, that was actually a big game changer for me. I've always been such a big advocate of face-to-face, knee-to-knee, that pivoting online actually opened up a whole world of me believing that this was possible to open my own firm. So I took that plunge in October also and started Align Financial Planning.
Nice.
That's a brief rundown of what's going on.
I wouldn't have done that justice. Nadia, I'm coming to you next. Give us your 15-second introduction. I think I captured yours a little bit better than Katy's, but go ahead and give it a whirl.
Yeah, mine's a little more direct, but I did start off in real estate. Before that, I had done several different things, but seven years ago, and I think that is right around when we met, all of us met, had just started in Virginia. Since then, we moved to Tampa, Florida, MacDill Air Force Base, and my husband is getting ready to retire. So this is our forever place that we're staying, but I'm still in real estate, and I decided to start my own team. Eventually, it'll be my own brokerage. I'm studying for my broker's exam to take next year. But yeah, so that's me.
I found
And you're
my
also an
real
attorney, right?
Yeah, I was gonna say, are you?
I
You
am
know-
an attorney.
also.
Oh, that. Yeah.
Also,
Just on the side, no, but I don't practice. I am licensed to practice in Florida because this is where I grew up, actually, and went to school. But and I keep it active, but I just don't really do anything. It comes in handy for real estate, of course. But yes, I used to be a lawyer. I say that in a previous life.
Awesome. Claire.
hey everyone, good to see you again. And I help women who are feeling stuck and resigned in their bodies to feeling strong and powerful so that they then feel like the bosses of their bodies. You want to feel like you are strong and in control and confident. So I am a trainer and nutritionist with a master's of science in psychology, and I'm a firm believer in the intersection of food and fitness and mindset. So I have a membership club that's been really fun that Lindsay is a part of. She joined my workout this morning. Good job, girl. We cleaned up pretty well.
That was my first workout since the plethora of food last weekend. So I showed up.
You made it, girl. That's awesome. So we have a lot of fun. And the holistic approach to wellness, because it's a multi-pronged approach in my mind. And I'm really going to echo Lindsay. It is, I feel like, yeah, it's just like a high school group of gals just like meeting back together, because it's been so long. We've all been in the same place, and it's really special to be spending this time with you. So thank you for taking time out of your schedules to meet us today.
That's kind of how we got going with Nadia and Katy coming on. I asked Claire, I'm like, who should we invite on? And she listed you gals, and I'm like, oh yeah, duh. Like, why? Yes, why haven't they been on yet? And I mean, like, dummies.
Because your timing had to be just right, and
That's
this
right.
is great timing.
Yes.
Good.
So speaking of timing, this year has been for a lot of people very complicated. And good, bad, whatever. It's just provided a lot of complications. And as our listeners are hearing this, as we get into the end of 2020 and starting to transition in 2021, I am going to ask Nadia and Katy and Claire the same question. So I'll let you guys think about how you want to answer this. But what are you going to carry into 2021 that you've developed in 2020?
So much.
I'm leaving it to you, Katy. You can take us from here to start on that.
This has been, like you said, such an interesting, complicated year. Good, bad, challenging, exciting. I do a lot of life planning every year, 2 or 3 times a year. I take a whole day to just hole up somewhere. Usually I find someplace public, so I have to stay doing what I'm doing, like go to a coffee shop and just daydream, write out everything I can imagine, do like best year ever life planning. And this year I've had to do it more often because it keeps changing. I create this plan and then life throws you a curveball again and again. And I know a lot of people can relate to that. But I think taking that time to go back, regroup, revisit, and say, all right, now what am I going to do? And not just get bogged down with it is part of what I can attribute to having so much growth this year. So starting both businesses in 2020, as daunting as that sounds, like that's what I'm going to carry forward, not the challenge of this year and challenges of finding childcare and solo parenting and deployment, and not that stress. I'd really like to just leave all that behind, but looking at the growth, the opportunity, the chance to like clear the slate and move forward. That's what I really want to bring into 2021 and realize how do both of these businesses serve my community and focus on that service. Because I think the more we focus on others, the less I focus on the problems I'm having in my life. And it brings more joy, more goodness.
Nailed it. Couldn't have said it any better. What about you, Nadia?
For me, what I realized is that, and the reason I started building a team in 2020 is I realized that if I'm not around, if I'm not doing what I'm doing now, my business is dead. So I can't be the only one doing what I'm doing. I have to multiply myself. And the only way I can do more and grow and have a true business that can carry on, even if I get, what if I get sick? What if something happens? Is to build a team, have my own brokerage, do those kind of things that before I was, I always thought I have my own business, which I do, but I was working in my business so much that I didn't focus on the business, on how to make it grow and how to make it more scalable so that it's not me doing everything. So I think that 2020 put that into overdrive. And I realized that that's really what I need to start focusing on is finding other agents that want to do what I do and just growing exponentially, growing my team exponentially so that we can either, that way I can help more people. I'm only limited into so many clients that I can work with at one time.
Powerhouse women right here. Claire, I'm coming at you, girl. Look at your face. You're like, oh.
I'm like, how do I follow that up? Wonderful answers, ladies. I'm going to piggyback off of something Nadia had said. So I think, and I guess this also is related to what Katy had mentioned. I guess it's also the idea of working smarter. And so I think what I had done, something I thought about for a while, is I created a membership club, which is basically, I lead classes twice a week. We do a Wednesday evening event. Everything is unrecorded, and then there are the content can be found on demand for those who don't attend the live sessions. But that's been something that is incredibly scalable. It's the same amount of work, whether it's one person, 100, 200 people. So that's been something that I think allows me to really be able to serve more. So it's really taking what you two have both already touched on, and it's the ability to have this personal one-to-many relationship that I find really fulfilling. And I'm a big person that I love community. So I think that being creative about how I can recreate community in a virtual sense. This has been, for me, it's what I have needed. I think it's what so many women have needed across the country. And I think that's why it's been successful. So, so I think that scalability, that community, and then the other thing that's just kind of more of a personal aspect of things is more balance. I think that I'm getting more sleep than I used to. I'm having more time for self-care. I'm not doing the runaround Claire chaos that was my life for so many years, because I thought, hey, when you hustle, that means that you are here, you're there, you are barely present in all the places because you're literally everywhere. And I learned some pretty tough lessons in 2019 specifically, that regardless of whether we would have known this ever, well, we would have never known them. Well, we didn't know, most of us, what was to happen this year. But that my goal for 2020 was to try to focus more on my business, less of working at all these different other boutique fitness studios that invited me to teach in San Francisco. Wanted to focus more on my business and really take better care of myself. And I was kind of forced into achieving those things because I was able to work more online, which was something I really enjoyed. I've done for many years. And it eliminated the just crazy commute that if you were in touch with me last year, you would have been like, what, Claire, you spent that many hours, the bus, the Uber, the running, the jump bike, all the things, like it was insanity. So, so I think community, working smarter and not harder, scaling, and self-care, balance. And Lindsay, what about you, dear? It's a great question.
I feel like a balloon where I'm like,
oh, you got good things to share.
Somebody said, and I may have said this I have to listen to some of the other podcast episodes I recorded recently, but someone had said, oh, I didn't realize your agency was still in business. And I was like, I'm celebrating 7 years this month. And I almost was like, ooh, ouch. However, one of the things that I've really enjoyed this year is there's so much less noise in my life and in my business. I'm not having to be here at this event, doing this talk, doing this. And while I find so much joy in that, being able to just like quiet down and then just really kind of hone in. We have my revenue is better than it's ever been. It has it sucked? Yeah, because I miss peopling. But my team is much smaller, but mightier in a way. So it's kind of like talking out of both sides of my mouth in a way where I've been able to kind of quiet all that, really minimize some of the stuff that I thought I enjoyed doing. And I think I'm going to carry that into the 2021. Really, because at the end of the day, when it pertains to my business, I'm looking at that bottom line. And Katy, I think that you can attest to that, helping people with their finances. You need to look at what's happening, and especially with trends, and follow that trend on what is putting that in your pocket. And people don't know that. I mean, they see you on social media hustling and all that, but they don't know what's happening when it comes to your bank account, right? So when I got to see everything, especially we're in December, kind of looking at the balances and all of that, and trimming all the fat. I don't know. I think I'm going to keep that momentum going into 2021. Katy looked like I hit a light bulb button when I said stuff about finances. Go ahead, Katy.
You mentioned that other people don't know what's going on with your business and your bottom line. And I find that most often people don't know what's going on with their own business or bottom line. There's a big disconnect often. Often there's a big disconnect between how we feel things are going and also what we feel are our priorities and the actual numbers of our finances or the actual numbers of how we spend our time. And that's something that I've been helping clients with for years. My focus was always on aligning your finances with your highest values. And for many people, that is time. So we would do like a good inventory of what really lights you up, what's most important, and why isn't that in your schedule? And this year, since we kind of wiped the whole schedule, now we can actually get to the root of it and say, why aren't your finances supporting that in your life goal? But you guys have all been talking about this focus that we've had because we're not distracted and here and there and everywhere. And what I feel like 2020 has given me is a release from FOMO. Like I would have such a hard time saying no to all the community. We're all people, really. Yeah. I would have such a hard time saying no to all the community events and things that I want to be a part of. And I would just have fear of missing out if I was here focused on my business. But, erasing that from possibility allows us to focus and then do a real inventory, like look at the real numbers. And I think when things are not going as great as you want them to, it is human nature. People stop checking their bank accounts and their credit card statements and those balance sheets and don't take the time to plan because they don't want to see it. But if you reframe it instead of what has happened and you start looking at what do I want to happen? What can I hope and anticipate for the future? And you write that out, that's a much easier way to come back around to looking at the reality, checking those statements, putting it back into the plan. So I just wanted to add that. You kind of struck a chord.
Yeah, I was like, so for those that are listening, we are on Zoom and you can catch this. We post all the videos on YouTube and all the social media and all the things. So rewind that part because you'll see when I started talking about the finances, Katy flinched and she was like, oh,
I have no poker face.
Yeah. Nadia is one of the most intelligent women that I know. And she has shared with me in the past just some very calculated growth plans. Nadia, you did this years ago. And to see you getting closer and closer to those goals is incredibly inspiring. My question to you is how do you stay motivated? Yours is an industry that is constantly changing. There's so much competition. I can't think of a more competitive. Well, maybe for you both with, financial and then real estate. Nadia, how do you stay motivated in a year like we've had and just in general? And then as my caveat or my additional question to that is how do you motivate those that you're trying to grow with your business?
Well, I'll start with that one and then it'll take me on to how do I stay motivated. I used to think that I had to reach a certain level of achievement in order for me to be able to build a team or inspire others or teach others or whatever it is that I wanted to do. But what I realized is, and it takes a long time because I'm in my head a lot, I realized that I've already achieved a lot more than a lot of people have. And my journey is my own. And each person who is going to join my team is going to have their own journey. And my job is to figure out what it is they want to do and how do we get them there. But I can't really do it for them. And so I used to think like I had to be number one in this and number one in that before I could start any of that. But I realized there are people who look at me and say, oh, look how much you've done. I want to do what you've done. So what keeps me motivated is, well, first, my husband is retiring in 2 years and I am the breadwinner. I'm going to be the sole breadwinner. He's going to come and work for me. So that's a big motivating factor, the financial aspect of it, but I need to do it. But I think this year, the most important, and it's always been like this for me, my most important thing is making sure that my client has a good experience. And if you give people what they want, then you'll get what you want. If you treat people fairly and kindly, then it spreads. And sometimes it's frustrating for me because I would like to be I would have liked to have the team members that I have now, maybe a couple years ago, but but I just know that I have to keep going and that everybody's, for me, it's a relational, everything is relational. It's not a transaction. And so it takes time to build those relationships, especially if you're moving around. So what I'm doing with my team now is I have a team who are fairly new to the area as well. So I'm teaching them what I've done over and over again when I've had to start from zero with zero clients and zero network and zero sphere of influence, as we call it. So I hope that's what keeps me motivated. And I love what I do. So, I would do it if I won the lotto and I didn't have to worry about money, I would still do what I'm doing. So that's my answer, I think.
That's impressive. I love it. I'm going to kick that question now to Katy. So, what has kept you motivated through, starting 2 businesses? You've mentioned childcare, so your attention is divided amongst humans, and single parenting with your husband being gone. So I feel like you could easily just be like, oh, it's too much, but there's something that's driving you. What is that keeps you on that pathway?
Truthfully, I got myself in too deep to even think about stopping.
Yeah.
I'm too committed. What do you do? Tell the guests, sorry, no breakfast tomorrow.
Yeah, I was going to say 2 of those things you can't you can't do anything about your husband to point. You can't give the baby back. Like those are the things that are
days that I thought of it. No, I adore my 2.5-year-old daughter. She's a handful. But what's kept me motivated? So a big part of this is from our original financial plan. So the financial planning business has been harder to stay motivated about because it's been more virtual. It's it takes that conscious choice every day to get up and work at it. And then when I meet with clients, that is the part that fuels me and motivates me because I do my best to connect with them. There's not a simple recipe because that is my business, is connecting with my clients and learning. Sometimes they know very clearly, this is where I'm going, this is what I want to do. And sometimes it's learning what that is and helping them discover what drives them, what motivates them. That is what I do. And helping put that at the forefront of their plan. And one thing that's been really interesting this year is I'd always put the parts of my values that serve others very high on that list because that is important to me. But that's also something that's very informed by the roles that I play. Military spouse, mother, woman, female business owner. They're all about what can I do for my community? And that is so important. But somewhere down on that list were things that just fuel me, just inspire me. We love to travel. I love to connect with art. I love to connect with architecture and old houses. And whenever we travel, we find the geekiest, dorkiest things to do, like old house museums all over the world. Like that's just something that I've connected with, but it didn't do anything for anyone else. So I think what was important is to go through that whole list, not just through the things that I'm going to say off the top of the head, because that's my archetype, that's my role. And connecting with that in a way that presented itself. I was open to the opportunity, found this old house that spoke to me and said, hey, let's do this. Like, let's just see if the numbers could work. And I started with financial planning to say, we've been saving for a future house when we PCS. Well, we've been lucky enough, not planned, to stay here or my husband briefly PCS'd away and back, but we've been in the same location for 7 years. So you guys have been moving and we're still here, but we didn't plan on that. So we looked at our plan and all these goals that we had out in the future and said, well, we didn't spend it on these other things that we planned to. So what if we pulled it and did it now? Could that even happen? And so I don't know that I'm clearly answering the question, but I hope I'm getting to the answer of finding something that just lights both of us up, motivates us enough that I've had more energy in this really, really demanding role than I have in less demanding roles that were obligations that I committed myself to because I should. And I've been eager to jump up, drive across town, cook breakfast, do these things that seem like work because they're fun and they're exciting. And they hit those things that really light me up and provide value. So that's what I try to do for my clients as well, is help them figure out what those things are, and then set up their finances so that when that moment arises, when they drive downtown and see a for sale sign in front of the sadly neglected house that they've always loved, they have the opportunity and the finances to daydream, change the plan, and say yes.
I think when I go back to this episode, if it isn't already, your word for this year, Katy, should be opportunity, because you've said it a couple times and it's so inspiring to hear that this year has been a year of opportunity for you. So I just love that.
Thank you for helping me figure that out.
Good to have the realization. So it's clear that we could just keep talking forever. I mean, you are all driven, inspirational, smart, warm, compassionate women who you're lighting me up. So we could keep talking forever. We do try to keep the episodes to about 20-ish minutes, given the name of the podcast. So we're going to wrap up with, this is very timely because I think this episode will air in the new year. Is that right, Lindsay? So I love that we're talking about motivation. And Lindsay, go ahead, girl.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think that I've got this one actually December 15th. So it'll be maybe the last episode that people hear in 2020.
Yeah. So it could be some really good advice, kind of thinking about this year and then moving into the new year. So we would love to know, and Nadia, I'll start with you first. What advice would you give to someone who's starting a business or thinking of starting a business? Just kind of wherever they are in their journey, what would you suggest that they do?
Wow. Oh my gosh. Somebody who wants to start a business or is starting out, I would say it takes time. It really takes time to build a business. It's not going to happen overnight. And you might shoot up straight like from the beginning, but just know that it's not always a projection, like an upwards projection. And the times when you grow are the times when you're actually failing and the times where you fall down on your face. So a lot of that is going to happen and it should happen, and just look at it as like, yay, that's exciting. I'm learning from it. But yeah, I mean, I would say it takes a lot of work. It takes patience, and you don't have to know everything to get started. For me, I thought I needed to know everything about real estate before I even talked to one person. But every time, and just like many, many, many transactions later, I realized I'm still learning things every single day. Every transaction is different. So, don't be scared to start. There's nothing, if you fail, the worst thing that's going to happen is that you're going to learn something from it, and then either know not to do it or whether you need to pivot or not and go in a different direction.
Katy, I'm throwing that to you. A budding military spouse entrepreneur is sitting in your office and she's thinking, I really want to start a business. What would you tell him or her?
You want to become a financial planner. That is part of my dream, and part of why I went independent was to be able to work with anyone, anywhere, and grow a team of military spouses, because I feel like we are uniquely positioned to serve this community in a really powerful way. But regardless of what profession or what industry they're in, I would say it's really important to surround yourself with elevating people who build you up, believe in you. There will be so many naysayers. So, just be careful where you spend your time. If someone's continually telling you what's not going to work, great. You can be casual friends, but don't bring up an idea, and then spend your time with the people who elevate. Like, my mom always said that friends are like an elevator that bring you up or down, but you're never going to stay where you're at.
Mm-hmm.
And that's been true. So surround yourself with other business owners, with other people who want to see you succeed, who you can learn from, and ask for questions, ask for help. I'm learning that this year. ask for people to guide you and show you the way, because so many people do want to help. Not everyone, but you'll find the right people that fit. And it's never too early to plan. Even if your plan changes 20 times or 50 or 100 times, having that plan laid out will help you have something to come back to and have the right people in your corner. So a great financial planner, a great CPA, a good attorney. There's some people that will be critically helpful in ironing out some of those challenges that come up when you're starting a business. And if you can get that team together, maybe not your formal team, but your community team, I think it would make life a lot easier. And go for it. Just do it. There's something so exhilarating about starting something new. I can't stop.
Yeah.
So we started the bed and breakfast. We've added a yoga space. We're adding massage therapy for our guests. There's so many things that you can add on, like once you get going.
How about a retreat for military entrepreneurs where we don't go and I don't want to learn stuff. I just want to chill and be around my friends. How about that? I know that there are retreats out there, but they're very action oriented. I don't want action. I just want 3 days of fun.
I think if we focus only on rest and recuperation and get the right people together, just your conversation will be educational enough.
See?
Yeah.
I'm
and
in.
we could call it a tax write-off.
Yeah, I'm excited. I can drive to Fayetteville. I'm there. Thank you,
Let's do it.
Claire, how many times we ask that question during the season is same, surround yourself with positivity, be careful who you're around, be careful of, where you're spending your time, and all themes that we have heard over and over and over again. And I throw it to you, sister. What would you tell somebody today if they asked you? Because I know that it can change, depending on your mood.
Yeah.
What would you tell somebody today?
I would tell them to go for it and to not be overwhelmed by the idea that you have to build it all so quickly. Kind of piggybacking off of what Nadia had said. I've recently been introduced to James Clear, the Atomic Habits author, and write it down as something to look into. So his whole idea is that they're just little habits that you take. Oh, so you're all writing. Good job. And hope all of you who are listening are doing that too. Just some little actions to take every day. Every action, just think of that as a vote you're casting for the person you want to be, for the business that you want to create. It doesn't have to be that, let's say I'm just going to use the example of, we'll take a physical goal, of trying to be, you want to get into running. It's not that you have to just be I'm going to be this marathon runner. No, you just every day, or, every couple times a week, you cast the vote for the people, for the kind of person you want to be. So you get out there, you move your body a little bit. And those little actions help you become 1% better. So it's not this overwhelming thing of oh my gosh, I have to build Rome in a day. No, it takes time. Just think about the artist who's just, really brushing on the canvas, or the sculptor who's just chipping away at something. It takes time. The author who's writing literally one letter at a time as they create their story. So it makes it a much more attainable goal when you think about just these little habits that you can put in daily. And it doesn't have to be this super oh my gosh, if you break it down and okay, what can I do today? It's 5 minutes of this. It's 10 minutes of brainstorming. It's 20 minutes of a phone call with someone who is a mentor of some type or could help you out in some way. So just break it down, because if you look at the whole big thing, sometimes it's oh, I can't. But it's clear you ladies have all done that, because you all have gotten yourself to places where, had you maybe in the however many umpteen years ago looked at the goal and been are you kidding me? That's a whole heck of a lot of work. But you've done it day by day, hour by hour, moment by moment. So kind of long-winded advice, but that's recently been something that's been described to me in a way that I thought really resonates with the way I want to operate, because it's also what I do with my business. We exercise a few days a week. It's not you do this whole thing at once and this big, massive transformation overnight. It's habits. There's a secret sauce in the habits, I believe. And Lindsay, you girl.
I'll close this up. I'll say that the four of us sat next to each other in a room 6 years ago or whenever it was. And look at us now, all on a podcast episode together. And I mean, not to get into my feels about that, but that means something, that you three are, we were around each other then. And when we reached out to say if you wanted to be on the podcast, you weren't like, no, that's ridiculous, that's stupid. That you were like, yeah, heck yeah, I'm all in. And so I know we don't talk all the time and we follow each other on social media. Of course, that's like what you do now. But, my advice is you never know 6 years down the road what your business is going to look like or what you're going to be working on. And the people that you sat in a room at a conference with might be doing that with you. And so that gives me like goosebumps, but it's an incredible, humbling feeling because it is. It's like sitting in a room with people that, you may not speak to every day, but if any of you needed something, we'd all, chime in and help. And I love that. And it's legit, authentic community, not BS. Oh, support your, military spouses. No, we were going to do it because we actually like each other. So, so that's my, 2 cents on that. I cannot thank you guys enough for sharing your time, sharing your insights. For those that are listening or watching, please add Katy and Nadia to your networks. They are incredible women to partner with and to collaborate with and just follow. If you need advice for a real estate agent, you just post on social media and Nadia is going to tag the person who will help you. I can attest to that. She did that for me. And then for Katy, if you have questions about, financial planning, she's your gal. And also I think this whole like retreat for business owners, I don't know, Katy, I'm like spinning my wheels because I feel
it's a thing.
I feel like it should be a slumber party and I want to bring like wine and Cheetos and pizza and have Claire not judge me, which she won't.
I've already got all that ready.
I like those things too. I'm the cool trainer nutritionist.
Right.
All right, and I will tag.
You can bring some kale smoothies for breakfast, and we'll be
fine. Oh well, yeah. We need a vegetable in there somewhere, so that's called balance, right? Thank you, ladies, again. And for those that are listening to Drop and Give Me 20, I will tag everybody's businesses. And last but not least, thank you, Claire, for helping me co-host this season. And I hope that you ladies have a successful rest of 2020 and an even more successful 2021. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Drop and Give Me 20. Drop and Give Me 20 is brought to you by Germono Advertising Company, and we would love to invite you into our network of military entrepreneurs on Facebook. Just search for Drop and Give Me 20 and join the Facebook group.